This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. Bumper to Bumper, helping you and your car feel better. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and we are your KTAR car guys, heard here every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. Today we are talking about air condition, and we brought the family from Mesa Auto Works, Stan Sr., Stan Jr., the other brother.
The Stans.
The Stans are here with us, and we are talking about AC service. And any questions you might have about air conditioning service. I know I've got coupons in my mail every day saying, hey, I can get an AC service for $19.95 at Acme Auto Service and Brakes. And $19.95, I'm thinking, what am I going to get fixed for $19.95? Because last I checked, it took a lot more than $19.95 to check out an AC system. What are you thinking?
Well, Dave, I mean, there's all kind. I guess first it depends on what kind of issue or kind of complaint you're having with your car. Is it blowing cool but not cold? Maybe it's cool in the morning, but then as it heat soaks and sits out in the sun all day, you get in the car and that sucker just won't cool down. Maybe you have hot air coming out of the dash when it should be cold air. Not just my AC doesn't blow cold, but it actually blows hot. That's one kind of problem maybe. Or maybe it doesn't blow at all. So these are all kind of air conditioning related issues. But the most common complaint that I think we get in my shop is my car, it just isn't as cool as it should be. It feels like it should be better. And you see these coupons, like you said, Dave, Acme Auto, $19.95, $28.95. Something doesn't register with me there. That is definitely a lost leader, big time. That's someone trying to get a car in there. Maybe.
Is it a lost leader or is it a bait and switch?
Well, it could be that too,
right?
Because it's that. I think that's the problem with the consumers. Everybody is geared towards wanting the better deal, and there's a misalignment of expectations.
Well, talking to Stan and Jeremy before the show, and we're just talking about an AC. You know, someone comes in for an AC service on a car. Stan Jr., what are you going to be asking them if they're at your counter and say, hey, I think I want my air condition looked up?
Well, I'm going to be asking what the symptoms are, what they're experiencing, and basically just try to get as much information from them as possible so I can fix their car correctly.
Well, and that information is key. We were talking before the show. If it's, like we said, cool in the morning and not so cool in the afternoon, that's typically going to be a charge level issue. If the thing blows ice cold 1 minute and then it doesn't blow cold at all the next minute or suddenly, well, that's not a charge issue. That's more likely an electrical issue. A fuse is only going to happen one time, but if it's coming intermittent, you could have a clutch issue, you could have a control head issue, a pressure switch issue, but that information will help us go to the right area. You still may be low on refrigerant. It's not uncommon to have two problems as well.
Well, I think people confuse like your cooling system for your engine with your cooling or Freon for your air conditioning system. And this is a sealed system. There's a refrigerant in it. And the refrigerants have changed a little bit over the years. And most cars have R134A in them as the refrigerant. And that's what you're going to be buying when you get an AC service. In the old days, we used to just throw gauges on it and shoot a can in there. But times have changed. When we went from R12 to 134A, the fills had to become perfect.
It got much more critical, and it's still getting more and more critical. So let me walk you through an air conditioning service. And you think if you can get this for $29. So you're going to come in, you're going to describe to the service advisor or the technician what's happening with your car. I, as the technician, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get in your car, I'm going to have my thermometer with me, I'm going to start it up, drive it, I'm going to put that thermometer in the dash, I'm going to record the vent temperature while we're driving. So after we've done that, depending on what I see with that vent temperature, if it's really nice and ice cold, it's going to maybe change the way I look at the car based on a car that is a little bit mediocre. So after that 2 or 3 mile test drive, we're going to go back to the shop, we're going to open the hood. We're going to do a visual inspection. We're going to look at the lines, the connectors, the hoses, look down by the compressor, and look around and see if there's any obvious signs of oil leakage. And the reason there's oil in the system, it's not so much the oil that you're losing, but the oil is the witness mark. The oil is what's pushing that, or the gas is what's pushing the oil out, and that's what's leaving the marks. You can't see that gas. It's vapor. So after we've done that, if we don't see anything obvious, now we've got to hook up our machine. We're going to measure the pressures, see what the pressure is, and then depending on what's happening there, it's going to determine how we're going to service that system. If we think it's low, now we've got to recycle, recover all that refrigerant. We're going to weigh it with the machine, measure it, and then determine if you're low. So easy math, your system holds 2 pounds. We pulled out 1.5 pounds. We add 0.5 pound. And we don't sell refrigerant by the pound anymore. It's down to the ounce. And so then after we've done that, determine the system's low, then we've got to recharge it. We're going to check the condenser fan. We're going to make sure all the dirt and everything's blowing out of the condenser. And I missed a couple steps in there.
You missed pulling a vacuum on it.
Well, yeah, we got to do a vacuum. There's a 15-minute vacuum if you've got a newer machine. But the other two things, we've got to check and make sure I would call them, sometimes hairy homeowner, do-it-yourselfer didn't go to the parts store and get the glue or the mystery, the snake oil in a can and the fix-all and put that, because that will ruin our equipment. And then we've got to check and make sure there's no flammable gases in there, because people want to use propane or some other kind of gas in the system. And once we've done all that, that's a 45-minute process using a machine that costs over $5,000. You don't get that for $29. The math just doesn't work. So I think that's where people need to be cautious.
Well, talking to Jeremy before the show, in the old days we just topped off a little bit of Freon. Nowadays, everything gets in evacuate. Everything is, unless the car comes in, it's relatively low mileage, it's a couple, 2-3 years old. We're probably not going there. But if we got a system that's 4 or 5 years old, you said you're sucking the Freon all out, you're pulling a vacuum on it, what we call an evacuate and recharge. And maybe you want to touch on that a little bit.
Well, we suck out all the Freon that's in the system, that's remaining in the system if it's low. And then we'd, like he said, we weigh it and everything, and then we'll suck it all into a vacuum after that. If we do find a leak, if there is a visual leak, we'll suck it down into a vacuum, and then there's a process in there that's a leak check, which sucks it down into a vacuum. It has to hold a vacuum for a certain amount of time at a certain level. If it doesn't, then there's still a leak present in the system.
And then on top of that, but you can have something that will leak under vacuum, but it won't leak under pressure.
Correct.
Or you have something under pressure that won't leak under vacuum. And the other thing that we miss, Dave, is putting in dye. When we recharge that system, we're going to put a charge of dye in there, ultraviolet dye. So whether it's tomorrow, next week, next year, if that system develops a leak, we're going to be able to shortcut and find it with a dye light or an ultraviolet light to help pinpoint that. So sometimes and oftentimes, this is not really a repair. This is a service or a diagnostic. It's a two-step.
Well, yeah, that's the expectation as far as an AC service is that you're going to go in. Again, if it's a system that's 2 or 3 years old, there's probably really not much happening. We're going to throw the gauges on it. We're going to visually inspect everything. If the pressures look right, not a lot's going to happen. But when you get to a 3 and 4 year old system, we're starting to look for leaks and other issues. We are going to do all those steps. The dye goes in it, but some of those cars within 2 weeks are blowing warm again. And you got to go back to the shop. But I don't want you to go back to the shop and be like, you sons of guns, I just paid you all this money and my car's blowing warm. That is to be expected, because we're not necessarily going to see the leak, and that's the whole point of the dye. The dye won't necessarily, if it's a small leak, it's not going to show up that day. It's got to circulate through the system for a week or two, and then it's got to come out. And you're going back.
Yeah, and if the system's empty, we can charge it. At my shop, we use nitrogen. We'll boost up the pressure with nitrogen. It's a clean, dry gas.
You're saying if it comes in
empty,
completely
yeah,
empty.
because you don't want to waste refrigerant. You don't want that going in the environment and going into the ozone. So you don't just shoot a bunch of refrigerant in there and scramble to find the leaks. You've got to get it pressurized, pinpoint those leaks. So if you've got AC questions, any kind of car question, that's the whole purpose of this show, is to help you with your car. So if you want to get in touch with the show, don't be shy. Call us at 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. You can also text at 411-923.
And hopefully it's about air conditioning, but you can talk about whatever you want. It doesn't have to be about air conditioning. You are listening to Matt and Dave on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper to bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
We're celebrating, and for good reason. Yep, 2014 marks the 20th anniversary of Kaiko Roofing here in the Valley, and they're proud and humbled to have been trusted for all these years by you, their loyal customers. Year after year, Kaiko has over 50% of their business coming from referrals or repeat customers, and 98% of the customers continue to say they would refer Kaiko to a friend or family member. For that loyalty and trust, we all want to say thank you. Kaiko is proud to install peace of mind by using only the finest materials with their most skilled workers, all backed by the industry's best owner's pride guarantee. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, call Kaiko for a free checkup and financing options. 602-944-4600 or go to KaikoRoofing.com. They're crazy about quality.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotiveddiagnosticspecialties.com.
This is Bumper to Bumper, News Talk 92.3, KTAR.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen. And today we have the family from Mesa Auto Works, Stan Sr., Stan Jr., and Jeremy. I want to put a junior behind that, though, for some reason. So we were talking before the show, and I said, I want to tell everybody what a great shop you got out there, what a great family environment it is, everything like that. What can I tell people that's special about your shop? And Stan Sr. says, we're honest. And I said, Stan, that is a fantastic quality, but unfortunately the guys that are dishonest say they're honest. but
we
these guys
really are, yeah.
But these guys are they are very honest and genuine. And I work with Stan Jr. a lot with customer stuff, and the detail he goes to really take care of these people, because it is very much a family environment. So you go down there and it's family, and they say, hey, Dave, I'm going to refer this customer over to you. He's been coming to us for years. If you could just look out for him as he comes through your shop and make sure he gets taken care of. Not that he wouldn't anyway, but he likes to make that connection and hand it off to me. And I always appreciate that, because I know he's diligent to take care of his customers.
Is there any, you guys ever go to blows over there? Is there Family Feud going on, or who settles the score? I guess Stan Sr., when you put the hammer down, the buck stops with you when there's a dispute in the shop, or do you?
As long as they're in my sight.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
Now
it may change. They may say, "Okay, Dad, yeah," and then I leave, and it's like, "Yeah, we ain't gonna do that."
I get the feeling there's not many disputes over there. It's
no,
not at all.
Plugging along and doing the right thing.
Ultra friendly, and a lot of their history is really in Volvos, but you guys really work on all makes and models. But with Volvo and Mazda, you got some specialty there.
Correct.
Because Stan Sr., you started out in Volvo working at the dealership forever.
Mm-hmm. Forever.
So, Volvo's a weird brand. It just is.
Yeah, but not. We've got a new tech, because we lost our Volvo tech. He died, unfortunately. Oof. And we got a new guy, and he used to teach the Volvo techs, and he knows all the ins and outs now.
I've talked to him a couple times. He's pretty smart.
So what you're saying is, if you've got a Volvo, you want to that's the guy to call.
Yeah.
And we've got two Volvo specialists on the bumper to bumper deal. Tanner in Central Phoenix, and you guys over there in East Valley that can handle anything, whether Volvo or not. So.
Well, and just to reintroduce the show a little bit, Matt and I both own auto shops, and we're networked with a bunch of other great shop owners that we feel just have the right way of doing business and want to take care of people. Mesa Auto Works, you can find them at mesaautoworks.com. But really, for a list of other great automotive shops in our network, bumpertobumperradio.com. And it looks like we got to get to the phones. I'm going to go with Jim in Gilbert. He's got a 2005, looks like Mercury Montego. Go ahead, Jim. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you for taking my call. I got a 05 Mercury Montego Premier, and it'll blow cold air. It's not real cold, but only when I'm driving. When I stop at a light, it starts blowing warm air. And just want to know what you guys think that is.
Okay,
well,
guys,
Matt says, since I'm a transmission guy, that I can't answer this question.
Well, we'll answer the question. I know you know the answer, Dave, but I'll tell you about that. You know, if you're driving down the road as Joe customer and you see this AC special sign, $2 outside of a transmission shop that now suddenly is Auto Care Experts.
Chances are they don't have the $5,000 machine you're talking about.
Yeah, they might or they may not, or they just got one because now they're AC experts because the transmission business isn't going so well. Who knows? But on that Montego, that's a classic symptom of cold driving down the road and not so cold sitting still. So the question is, what's happening? When you stop, there is no airflow. You're going 60 miles an hour down the freeway or 45 on a surface street. You've got air running across the radiator and across the condenser. When you sit still or sitting at a stoplight, if the fan's not mechanically hooked to the engine and driven by the belts, you're going to have one or two electric fans, one to cool the radiator and a second one to cool the condenser off in the front of the car. The radiator one is only going to come on when the radiator temperature is high enough. Both of them will come on when commanded to do so by the air conditioner. So probably what's happening is you have a bad fan motor or some type of control for the condenser fan. If the car's overheating also sitting still, then maybe it's just that single fan. So
Could low charge do that?
No, it could, but that's pretty much a symptom of
that's
that.
That's why I'm a transmission guy.
Yeah.
I get it.
But you still need to go through. Now, we could find that fan motor is bad, and you could still be low on charge. So it wouldn't be uncommon, especially on a 2005 car. We're coming on 9 years old. It might be just a little bit low. Now, in a perfect world, the AC system's never going to be low. That's not a consumable gas. But they are going to leak a little bit every year.
Thanks so much for the call, Jim. We're going to go with Bill in Scottsdale on a 2012 Ford Escape. Go ahead. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, on my Ford Escape, I used to get about 27.8, 27.9 miles per gallon for my gas mileage. And a couple of weeks ago, I put new tires on the truck, and almost immediately I shot down to about 26.2. So I lost about a gallon and a half per mile, a mile and a half per gallon in my gas mileage. Is that normal?
Well, I've heard that. I had a customer that had a Volkswagen TDI, and he knew his mileage like down to the 10th of a mile per gallon. It was like I said, the diesel, and he used to drive between Phoenix and Wisconsin constantly.
He was an engineer, though, right?
No, I don't know what he was, but he knew his mileage just because. I mean, if you're driving, he was running some serious miles on this car in a year. We're talking, 40, 50,000 miles. I don't know, running drugs. Who knows what he's going back and forth to Wisconsin. He went from his Michelin's to another brand and lost 3 miles a gallon. I said, no way. He went back to the tire store, got rid of the brand that he put on, another very high-quality brand, by the way, put on what he had on the car and got his fuel mileage right back.
Do you believe that, Stan Sr.?
Oh, yeah, it's possible. But it's also, are you still getting your fuel at the same place? Because different gas stations have different quality of fuel, and that's going to ruin your mileage or make it better.
The other thing I was thinking about, too, when he was asking the question was, in these cars, they kind of have a real-time estimated fuel mileage right there. And I always wonder if people are checking their mileage against how many gallons did I put in it and how far did I drive? Are they doing the math?
Well, truly doing the math. But even if you're not, if you're still watching that gauge, if nothing else changed but the tires,
do you think it's
possible
possible
when
when
it walks
he
like a duck?
when he
Whack.
when he bought them, maybe they were underinflated or something, or just that tire has more tread on it. And it's got a different rolling resistance.
It's just the rubber compound. It's a lighter weight tire. The carcass is lighter. Who knows exactly what it is? But I'm telling you, that's the deal.
So AC service, I'm a consumer. I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to make an appointment, and you're talking about, well, Dave, you're telling me I can't get my AC checked and fixed for $19 on that coupon I just saw. What should they be planning on?
Well,
it's a two-step process in many cases, and I'm seeing a range of a good, thorough AC service from $50 to maybe $110.
Right. Well, if you want someone that cares about their job to be working on your car, you want someone that's compensated properly. I mean, we just went through this. It takes an hour to do the service. We're using a $5,000 plus machine. That doesn't work for $20. So my point is, how much should that cost? Well, you're going to spend between $50 to $100 probably for the labor. There's nothing wrong with discounting that down a little bit, but we can talk about that more.
We come back. We've got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
We're the Car Guys from the Bumper to Bumper radio show, heard right here on News Talk 92.3 KTAR every Saturday from 11 to noon.
Bumper to Bumper Radio, it's just like your favorite warm and comfy blanket for all your automotive needs.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Dave. And we're here not just on Saturdays, but 24/7 at bumpertobumperradio.com for all the very best repair and service shops in Phoenix.
Yep, right advice, products, and partners are all at bumpertobumperradio.com.
After 14 years in the States, mostly spent here in the Valley, I was getting bloody frustrated with the treatment I was receiving from dealerships on the maintenance and repairs of my vehicles. I finally reached out to a friend who told me I was crazy not to try Virginia Auto Service. Being a mom with a busy schedule, children, and work, I took my friend's advice and gave Virginia a try. What a refreshing difference. From the first step through their doors, their staff was accommodating and understanding. Robert explained in plain English what I needed to have done, but also why. They went out of their way to make sure that the experience was convenient, with door-to-door shuttle service by a lovely man named Bergie. Several years and a number of visits later, the experience is always the same. They tell me what is necessary right now and what is not. This is Victoria, and I don't know much about cars, but I do know that from boot to bonnet, Virginia Auto Service knows how to take care of their customers. Check them out online.
You're listening to Bumper on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we've got the guys from Mesa Auto Works here with us. They are in Mesa, and you can find them at mesaautoworks.com.
Are you in slow motion today, Dave?
Well, I might be. We've got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR, and you can also text your questions at 411-923. And we're going to go first this segment with Jim in Mesa on a 2003 Trailblazer. But hold on a second, Jim. Matt is the guy that pauses when he's talking. And for him to be picking on me?
Just saying.
Go ahead, Jim. What can we help you with today?
Hi, good morning, guys. Thank you for taking my call. I'm calling about my 03 Trailblazer. It's intermittently turning, blowing cold and kind of warm every 7 to 8 minutes. It doesn't matter if it starts up in the morning or in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. As soon as you start the car, it runs, and then 7 to 8 minutes later, it stops cold. And just driving me crazy because my wife took my truck, and I got to get this fixed so I get my truck back.
So when you say it's nice and ice cold, now when it starts to blow warm, does it feel a little bit of humidity in the car, a little musty or anything like that, like moist?
No, nothing like that. It's just like a cycle. It's cold and then it's not cold.
Okay. And then how's the airflow out of the vents? If you turn that blower, the fan blower on, and you put your hands up, is that going to be pushing
Full
back?
speed. Yep, full speed.
Full speed, it works well. Okay.
Yep.
Well, what I'm thinking is that maybe the system is low on pressure. That's why it blows cold. Remember, pressures and temperatures are relative to each other. So if you've got 250 pounds of pressure on the high side, that might be 250 degrees. If you've got 40 pounds of pressure on the low side, you might have 40 pounds of output air temperature or thereabout. So if that's low on refrigerant, what's going to happen, Jeremy? It's going to make some cold air for a little bit, but then what's going to kick in?
It's going to start blowing hot because it just doesn't have that full charge.
Well, so the low side pressure cycling switch, there's a protective switch in the system that if the pressures get too low, it's going to shut off or open the switch and interrupt the power to the compressor clutch so that the system doesn't overload. There's also a high side pressure switch if the pressures get too high. So it could just be getting low pressures, or it could be freezing up from lack of airflow possibly.
Correct. So, and then once that low side pressure goes back up, then the compressor clicks back on, and then it works for a while, and then until it drops down again. It also could be going into a vacuum too, and it might have an issue there too. Where
it just keeps repeating that cycle. So
Well, you guys are all talking about pressures, but I'm thinking as a transmission guy, maybe I'm a little layman here on this. Lame. But what we talked a little bit before the show about blend door problems. You know, these cars have a blend door. There's a mode door, which kicks it from your feet to the vents to the defrost. They call it a mode door. And there's a blend door, which is going to mix hot and cold air to get you the temperature you're looking for. That's why you can dial it into 78 degrees and put it on auto and just let it go.
Yeah. In his case, though, I would say that it's more along the lines of a low charge issue. So, Jim, if you need a shop, Mesa Auto Works is not open today. Is that correct, guys?
No, we are not.
You're all three here, so you can't be open. But
you can go down and use our tools today if you want.
Yeah. Just kick that back door open. Don't worry about the alarm. But Mesa Auto Works is maybe in your area. Check them out at bumpertobumperradio.com and go in there and ask for one of the stands or Jeremy on Monday morning, and I bet they can help you.
Well, let's go with Carmen in Mesa with a 2004 Mazda Protege. What can we help you with today, Carmen?
Okay, well, I don't have an AC unit right now that's functioning, and I was given an estimate of $1,000 to get a new one. And I have a small income, so I have an opportunity to get a used condenser, and that it would be put into my car. And I'm wondering about the pros and cons of doing that versus getting a new one.
Well, Dave's going to answer this question for you. He's over there. He's pointing at himself. He's ready to roll. Dave?
Well, AC units are expensive. So, I mean, $1,000 isn't like abnormal. That could be a normal complete AC system. The only thing is that I get worried about when we're on a limited income and we want to save money. Here's the thing that I worry about. If we don't have money to do it the first time, we're certainly not going to have money to do it the second time. And I think we're taking a big chance going with used AC parts.
Yes, but she said condenser. Okay? Now, $1,000 is not abnormal it depends on how the system fails, though. If you get the compressor that grenades and blows up internally, and that's a pump, and that pumps all that debris through the system, that's a different repair than maybe if you just have a compressor or a hose that's leaking, or in her case, she said condenser. So maybe she just got a rock off the freeway and blew a hole, knocked a hole in the condenser, and it's no good now, and that's the repair. $1,000 seems a little bit high for just doing the condenser. So, but she brought up the condenser. So I wouldn't be too worried if the situation is I picked up a rock, the rock punched a hole in the condenser, I lost the charge, and I found a good used condenser out of a car that got creamed in the rear end or had a fire on the interior or something like that. I wouldn't be so worried about that condenser. What do you think?
The problem with that is that you don't know if that car grenaded the compressor, and you don't know if that condenser is really any good. So, yeah, they'll warranty it. They'll give you another one, but you got to double the labor.
Well, yeah, if the
For a used
condenser
part.
yeah, but I mean, chances are the car gets creamed. The AC was probably working. Who knows? But I would not go with a used compressor.
No, most
I definitely wouldn't do that. But then, what do you guys think about? It used to be you replace the compressor's bad. Let's say it's leaking, and then they say, well, you got to do the compressor, clutch and hub, orifice tube or expansion valve, and a dryer. You got to replace everything. And I've gotten away from that. At least we have at my shop, because the reason you want to replace those things is there's either debris in the system or it's been left open so long that the desiccant in the dryer isn't working anymore. But if you simply just got a leaky seal on the compressor that's not serviceable, I will put a compressor on that car all day long without replacing those other components.
Exactly, that's the way it should be done.
Yeah, there's just no need to go throw the whole thing at it. And sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's a condenser. It's the whole 9 yards, especially if it gets we call it the Black Death, when that thing's just pumped through the system.
Well, Carmen, thanks so much for the call. I see you are in Mesa. If you do need a good shop to do that repair, you've got Mesa Auto Works, as well as other shops at bumpertobumperradio.com. I've got a text here from a gentleman. He's got a 2005 Silverado 4.8-liter two-wheel drive, 275,000 miles on it, barely broken in, I guess. I got a lifter making noise and is wondering if I run a heavier oil, will the ticking stop and help with? He would appreciate it. Gary. Thanks, Gary. Come on, what do you guys think?
Thicker oil is not gonna do anything.
At that mileage, that engine, he could have lost a lobe on a camshaft. He needs more diagnostic than just putting heavier oil in. Heavier oil is not a fix.
It's kind of like taking aspirin for that pain. It's still there. You just can't.
That's
feel
caused
it.
by cancer.
yeah. You can't feel it anymore. But I don't know that I would be. Putting a camshaft. That's a lot. That's a big job to put a camshaft and lifters in that car, and I'd be really thinking twice about making a significant repair to that engine. It may be one of those deals where you reevaluate and consider just putting in the new engine. All the other stuff that goes along with it, maybe you can squeeze another $200,000 out of it.
Take the valve cover off. You can look, you can see, and you can tell him that's what he's got.
Right.
Okay. Well, I got another text here. He's got a 2005 Ford F-350. When driving down the freeway, my truck seems to wander, which requires constant correction. I used to drive a Chevy 2500, and the steering was very tight. My Ford steering scares me sometimes.
Well, I drive a 2005 Excursion, so if it's four-wheel drive, it's probably got the same as mine. It's got a straight front axle, and those things just don't track as nice as the Chevrolets with the independent front suspension. So you can jack that up and get the weight off the wheels and see if the front end turns smoothly. You could have bad ball joints binding. You could have a steering stabilizer shock that's bound up. So there are some things in there that could be causing that. You want to check the tire pressures, make sure you've got even tread on the front tires. You don't have one tread of another style and a different brand tire. That's going to make all kinds of havoc on any kind of car having two different tires on the steer axle. So you need to get in, have somebody shake down the front end, so to speak. Look at the tires, set the pressures, check the alignment, check the ball joints, and make sure nothing's binding up in there.
Well, I'm looking here. We got a bunch of texts here. I'll go through some of these. We've got someone, CRV AC repair, $2,300 all the time. CRVs. I hear a lot of people bad-mouthing CRVs for air conditioning.
They've had some problems. They have, but in some cases, Honda's really stepped up to the plate and just actually reimbursed people for repairs. But they did have some issues a few years ago with CRVs, and I don't know why. Dave, there's another text. Dave, why is one condenser $100 and the other one is $350?
Oh, and fantastic question.
Jim Atkinson from Car Repair Company would be the best person to answer this question. But it's like a battery. It's like anything else. You get a steak. Well, there's a heck of a lot of difference between a steak from Durant's and one from Sizzler, or one from, just make your analogy, the $6 burger or the 99-cent Big Mac. There's a big difference. So the manufacturers spend millions and millions and millions of dollars getting these cars air conditioning systems dialed right in. And so the difference in the condensers, and I know Jim's done a lot of testing on this. He's on the board of the Mobile Air Conditioning Society and does a lot of work at his shop on air conditioning. there's difference between the number of fins per inch on the condenser. If it's cheaper, oftentimes it's because you're getting less. So there's a huge difference between an aftermarket and an original equipment condenser or any air conditioning parts. And I always think you want new parts.
When we come back, we've got open lines at 602-277-5827. 602-277-KTAR. We're talking about air condition and anything you want to talk about in relation to your car. You listen to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Hi, Jerry Colangelo here with 3 reasons to tee up a legendary golf outing. The Gold, the Patriot, and the Heritage. 3 championship courses all located at the Wigwam Resort. And why wouldn't you want to play somewhere Golf Week named as one of 2012's best courses? And it's home to world-class golf instruction by the Plain Truth, founded by renowned top 10 instructor Jim Hardy. Tee up a round or a lesson today. Visit wigwamgolf.com. That's wigwamgolf.com.
Hi. This is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotiveddiagnosticspecialties.com.
My pappy said, son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln.
Bumper to Bumper on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and we are here hopefully lowering your anxiety when it comes to car repair or just keeping you in the know. So when you go in, you know what the heck you're talking about, you know what to ask for, you know what to tell them. All that communication stuff. We've also got the guys from Mesa Auto Works, Stan Sr., Stan Jr., and the other brother, Jeremy, are in with us. And they're here to help you with your car. And up first this segment, well, I want to talk about my Toyota Camry. My wife drives a Toyota Camry. She got in a car accident last year. I'm trying to see if I get Matt to diagnose it for me. But got in a car accident. It had ice-cold air. And now after the front end has been fixed, the AC got touched, and now the AC doesn't work so good.
Okay. You got that look on your face, Dave. It doesn't work so good, huh? Well, I know part of this story, Dave, but so in your case, you get in a car accident, your car goes to the body shop, and the body shop and the insurance company, oh, that's a pretty expensive condenser from Toyota. We're going to get one from Acme. And so they put in the aftermarket condenser. It's got less cooling fins per inch. Maybe it's a different style. It's not made as well. The materials aren't so good. And so that could be the problem. But I know that you changed it out back to a factory condenser.
First thing I did.
And it still doesn't blow cool. So what I'm thinking is that thing got smacked in the front end. There's some aluminum or rigid lines going up to that condenser. And if it got smacked enough to bend or break the condenser, it could have kinked one of the high-pressure lines. And what's happening in the air conditioner, we're making when the refrigerant is under high pressure, it's a gas. When it's low pressure, it's a liquid. And we use an orifice or an expansion valve. I got that backwards, didn't I? High pressure, it's a gas. Low pressure, it's a liquid. So it's a high-pressure gas out at the front, and it's got to go through an orifice tube or an expansion valve to change it to a liquid to make it cold. And that tube is probably bent, and it's happening. It's changing the gas before it gets to the orifice tube. It's converting it before. And you're doing this backwards. Low pressure is liquid and cold. High pressure, yes.
High pressure is liquid.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You're backwards. We're going to have to get Jim in here to settle that one. Low pressure is liquid.
So if I bring
liquid
it to your
line, the liquid line's the low pressure
if
line.
I can bring it to your shop, Matt, can you get it diagnosed for me?
I am sure
we're tranny
we
people.
can handle that. I'm sure we can handle that. Well, would you take your air conditioner to a transmission shop?
No.
That specializes in everything now?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
We don't even own air conditioning gauges, so.
All right, we got some calls, Dave.
Let's get with
Stan and I
Lisa.
can argue later. Jim, send me a text.
We're going to go with Lisa on a 2007 Silverado. Go ahead, Lisa. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning. I am calling. My son's truck is what I'm calling about. It's an 07. He changes his fluids regularly. We just had all the fluids changed. He's actually in Afghanistan, so I'm in charge of this truck. He puts in Royal Purple oil. He does everything he's supposed to, and all of a sudden it's coming up with a low oil pressure. And I'm concerned about taking it back to where I had all this work done because it seems as if, I don't know, something changes every time I go there.
Does the engine make any noise when that low oil pressure light is on?
No, but it did start that, my dad called it, I think the lift, it kind of ticks. It's never done that before, and it's not leaking anything.
How many miles are on it?
About 90,000.
About 90,000 miles.
Well, some of those Chevy trucks did have camshaft lobes that got wiped off, and the roller lifters were having problems. But the first thing I'd want to be doing is we need to do a mechanical oil pressure test where we're not going to rely on a light. We're going to unplug the sensor where that sends a signal back to the instrument cluster, if you will. We're going to take that out. We're going to put a gauge in place of that, and we're going to measure the oil pressure on a cold startup and all the way through a warm-up cycle and see what that pressure is. If we have good pressure, then what we're probably going to do is just replace the oil pressure sending unit that we had to take out, and that might just be the problem. But if you've got a tick noise along with that, maybe you have a mechanical issue that has nothing to do with low oil pressure, possibly.
First thing is, did they fill it with oil? Check the oil level.
Yeah, we checked that. It's good.
That's good.
Yeah, so, I mean, but there's nothing wrong with taking it back to him. Maybe it could happen. Maybe a wire got pinched. The oil pressure switch sometimes is near the filter. That could be the issue. So it's worth giving a shot. Go back.
Right. Go back. Let them know what's going on, and I'm sure they will be happy to help you. Thanks so much for the call, Lisa. We are going to go with, looks like Pedro in Avondale on a 2001 Chevrolet Malibu. Go ahead, Pedro. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yes, I have a 2001 Malibu, and it's about the AC. It's cooling real good, no issues with the cooling, but I noticed that lately the air compressor started making noise. Is that something that the compressor needs to be replaced, or? And it sounds like internally inside the compressor, not the clutch.
So it's just the whole thing just rattling, just making noise?
Yep.
Well, I mean, you could have the compressor that's coming apart. I mean, that's what we call the Black Death. When you open that thing up or open up a line, it just looks like graphite was pumped through the whole system, and that's a total system failure.
And it plugs up everything, so you have to replace it all. So it's not a matter of him just putting a compressor on there.
Is that something where he wants to address that now, or is something just run until it blows?
I would do it now.
Yeah, I mean,
do it now.
In that case, this is the system where you're still going to need everything, so to speak, the orifice and the dryer. You might be able to get away without the condenser, but if it totally grenades.
Well, plus the fact if he's driving down the road and it seizes up and the belt goes, then he overheats the engine and then he needs a motor.
Yeah, because you've only got one belt on that car. But the other thing that's important to check, too, is make sure that we've got good belt tensioners, make sure that the belts and the idlers are noisy, because we've had cases where people come in and say, my air conditioning makes noise. Well, yeah, the car only makes that noise when you turn the air conditioner on, but you have to think of what's happening when that AC is turned on. It's loading the belt, it's loading the system more. All that belt and pulley system, you could have a balancer that's going bad. You could have other things. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the air conditioning compressor.
Well, the other thing we didn't talk too much about, but we talked about it before the show, is these cars that blow nice and chilly cold, and after you've been driving on the freeway for 10 minutes, they start to blow warm because the clutch on the front of the compressor is not holding like it should anymore. The clearance is getting too big. Did you want to talk about that? You're staring at me like, what the heck are you talking about?
Well, Stan was talking about that earlier. Yeah, there's an air gap. There's an electromagnetic clutch, and when we send a voltage signal down to that compressor, the magnet's going to kick in and suck the face of the compressor or the clutch to engage it. And every time that does that, there's some slippage. There's two pieces of metal. There's no clutch material. It's just two machine surfaces, and those suck together and build that instant pressure. They're going to slip a little bit, and that starts to wear off a bit, and that gap becomes too large to overcome.
Yeah, just the magnet, and then sometimes if you get on the road, it's blowing warm. 5 minutes later, it's ice cold again because it's just that close, that gap, and it's too wide for the magnet to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that diagnosis is very easy. You look down, you turn on the AC, the light on the dash is on, the fan's blowing, but there's no compressor working. You just go take a long screwdriver or just tap the front of the face of the clutch, and bam, it just kicks right on. So, and sometimes you can adjust those. That doesn't mean, there's no adjustment, there's no screw, but when you build that system or add that the clutch and coil and everything to that compressor, there's spacers in there and shims. You can just pull a couple thousandths out and maybe solve that issue.
But not necessarily a cheap job because of where the compressors are sometimes.
Right. The labor is the big component is getting to that, and then hopefully that's not the only that's the only problem.
Well, we got a couple calls here on the line. Matt and Chris, we're going to take you after the show. Thanks, guys, for coming in to help our listeners with their cars. Tell us again how we can get a hold of your shop if they're looking for a good shop in Mesa.
It's Mesa Auto Works at 480-969-1954 or mesaautoworks.com.
And it's a great shop. If you guys are looking for a family-run business where you don't have to go up the chain to get very far to somebody who can make a decision, Mesa Auto Works is a great shop. And you can also find them at bumpertobumperradio.com. Thanks, Peter, for running the dials. Remember, never to text and drive. It never ends well. You think you get you almost got to put the phone in the trunk because it's so easy to do. So we will see you next week.
We're celebrating, and for good reason. Yep, 2014 marks the 20th anniversary of Kaiko Roofing here in the Valley, and they're proud and humbled to have been trusted for all these years by you, their loyal customers. Year after year, Kaiko has over 50% of their business coming from referrals or repeat customers, and 98% of the customers continue to say they would refer Kaiko to a friend or family member. For that loyalty and trust, we all want to say thank you. Kaiko is proud to install peace of mind by using only the finest materials with their most skilled workers, all backed by the industry's best owner's pride guarantee. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, call Kaiko for a free checkup and financing options. 602-944-4600 or go to KaikoRoofing.com. They're crazy about quality.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
We're the car guys from the Bumper to Bumper radio show, heard right here on News Talk 92.3 KTAR every Saturday from 11 to noon.
Bumper to Bumper radio, it's just like your favorite warm and comfy blanket for all your automotive needs.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Dave. And we're here not just on Saturdays, but 24/7 at bumpertobumperradio.com for all the very best repair and service shops in Phoenix.
Yep, right advice, products, and partners are all at bumpertobumperradio.com.